Claude Opus 4.8 just shipped, Anthropic's flagship model, available everywhere today, at the same price as 4.7. The headline numbers: 88.6% on SWE-bench Verified, 69.2% on the harder SWE-bench Pro, where it beats GPT-5.5 and Gemini 3.1 Pro, and 74.6% on Terminal Bench 2.1. It is 4 times less likely than Opus 4.7 to let a code flaw slip by unremarked. And fast mode is now 3 times cheaper than it was. Let's go through exactly what changed and whether it is worth switching today. Here's the announcement on Anthropic.com introducing Claude Opus 4.8, dated May 28th. The framing is deliberately modest. We are upgrading Claude Opus to a new version. It builds on Opus 4.7 with improvements across benchmarks, and is a more effective collaborator, available today for the same price. No version number theater, no renamed product line. The model ID is Claude-Opus 4.8. Swap that string into your API calls, and you are on the new model. The page points to the system card for the full evaluation detail, but the top-line gains are all here: coding, reasoning, computer use, knowledge work, and financial analysis. Start with the coding benchmarks, because that is where most people will feel the difference. SWE-bench Verified, real GitHub issues the model has to actually fix, goes from 87.6% on Opus 4.7 to 88.6% on 4.8. That sounds incremental, and at the top of the curve it is. But the more telling number is SWE-bench Pro, the harder variant. There the jump is 64.3% to 69.2%. Almost 5 points on the benchmark that is specifically designed to not be saturated. And Terminal Bench 2.1, which measures agentic command line work, jumps from 66.1% to 74.6%. That is the biggest single gain in the release, more than 8 points. The pattern across all three is the same. The gains are largest on the hardest benchmarks, which is the opposite of what you usually see at the top of a saturating curve. That tells you the improvement is real headroom on difficult tasks, not noise on easy ones. Beyond the raw scores, Anthropic calls out where the model got better as a collaborator. Enhanced judgment for agentic tasks. It makes better decisions about what to do next when running an open-ended workflow, instead of charging ahead on the wrong path. Increased honesty, which we will come back to because it is the most interesting number in the release. Better context retention across sessions, so it holds the thread on long-running work. And improved tool calling efficiency. Fewer wasted calls, tighter loops. Early testers describe it as more reliable and sharper in its judgment, which is the kind of qualitative gain that does not always show up in a benchmark table, but shows up immediately when you actually use it. Adopting it is trivial. The model ID is Claude-Opus 4.8. In the Anthropic SDK, that is a one-line change. Set model to Claude-Opus 4.8, and your existing code runs on the new model. Same messages, API, same tool use schema, same streaming. In Claude Code, run Claude-model, Claude-Opus 4.8, or just update your config default. Because the pricing is identical to 4.7 for regular usage, there is no cost reason to stay on the old model. The upgrade is free in the literal sense that your bill does not change while your benchmark numbers go up. On the competitive picture, Anthropic claims Opus 4.8 outperforms both GPT-5.5 and Gemini 3.1 Pro on SWE-bench Pro, which is the benchmark that best tracks real agentic coding difficulty. It is not a clean sweep. GPT-5.5 still leads on the terminal coding benchmark, and these numbers move every few weeks as everyone ships. But for the specific job most developers care about, give the model a real bug in a real repo and have it fix the bug correctly without introducing a new one. Opus 4.8 is at the front of the pack as of today. The honesty gain compounds that. A model that fixes the bug but silently introduces a worse one is not actually helping. 3 product changes ship alongside the model. First, fast mode is now 3 times cheaper than the previous fast mode pricing. Regular usage stays at $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output. Fast mode is $10 input, $50 output, which sounds higher until you realize it used to be 3 times that, and it brings high throughput, latency-sensitive inference into production budget range. Second, dynamic workflows in Claude Code, where the model spins up parallel subagents to fan out across large-scale tasks instead of grinding through them serially. Third, effort control on claude.ai and Cowork, so you can dial how much thinking the model spends, and the Messages API now accepts system entries mid-task, so you can steer an agent partway through a run without restarting it. Effort control is the change developers will reach for most. On a quick lookup, you do not want the model burning 1,000 reasoning tokens. On a subtle race condition audit, you absolutely do. Setting the effort level high tells Opus 4.8 to spend more of its budget on deliberation before answering. It is the explicit knob for the trade every agentic system makes implicitly between latency and depth. Paired with the cheaper fast mode, you can now run high-throughput cheap inference for the easy 90% of calls and dial effort up only on the hard 10%, instead of paying full reasoning cost on everything. Opus 4.8 is 4 times less likely than Opus 4.7 to allow code flaws to pass unremarked. Anthropic, that is the number I would put above the benchmark scores. The worst failure mode for an agentic coding tool is not getting a hard problem wrong. It is confidently accepting a flawed solution and moving on, because then the bug ships and nobody flagged it. A 4x reduction in silent acceptance of flaws means the model is more willing to say this is wrong, here is why. For anyone running Claude in an agentic loop without a human reading every diff, that honesty gain is worth more than a point on SWE-bench. A model you can trust to flag its own uncertainty is a fundamentally different tool than one that just sounds confident. Claude Opus 4.8 is live today on the API, claude.ai, Claude Code, and Cowork. Model ID Claude-Opus 4.8. Same price as 4.7 for regular usage, fast mode 3 times cheaper, better on every coding benchmark, and 4 times less likely to wave a flaw through. If you are on 4.7, the switch is one string, and your build does not change. There is genuinely no reason to wait. The full announcement and system card are on anthropic.com, and the system card is worth reading if you care about the alignment and honesty evaluations behind that 4x number. URLs are below. Subscribe at Prism Labs for more AI model and developer tooling deep dives.